Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. Got an ACC battle here, College Football Week 6. Syracuse on the road in Chapel Hill to play North Carolina. Tar Heels laying 8.5 at home. Total sitting at 60. Let's roll.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
So like I said, line sitting at 8.5. North Carolina obviously favored at home here. And at the time of recording this, we're looking at a little bit of a pros versus public setup here. Public is slightly leaning Syracuse. Sharp action all over North Carolina.
Update, so we got another game where the line moved right after I was done recording. This one's North Carolina minus 9.5 now.
Well, we'll start with last week. Last week was heartbreaking for Syracuse, man. They really went into that game with high hopes. They almost beat Clemson in Death Valley last year. On their home field, they really believed they were going to get the job done. Obviously, they fell short. Final score, 31-14 Clemson. And it wasn't just the final score that was heartbreaking. I mean, Syracuse offense couldn't do anything against Clemson's defense. I mean, not only did they turn the ball over 3 times, but they were held to just 281 yards of offense, 5.8 yards per pass attempt, 2.9 yards per carry on the ground. It was just a Clemson defensive showcase. Garrett Schrader was not very good in the game, just 15 of 29, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 118.6 passer rating. And if it was just that game, right? If that was the first time we saw Garrett Schrader struggle this year, I would brush it off and be like, you know what, it's Clemson defense. He had a bad game, no big deal. But actually, a couple weeks back, Garrett Schrader was struggling to throw the ball on Purdue. In that game, he went just 14 of 28 with 184 yards and a pick. Now, also in that game, he rushed for 195 yards and 4 touchdowns, so by no means was that a bad game for Garrett Schrader. The point I'm making is Syracuse has struggled to get the pass game going in both of their Power 5 games, the Clemson game and the Purdue game. Their other 3 games this year were Army, Colgate, and Western Michigan. So they're 2 real tests. Garrett Schrader could not get the pass game going. And North Carolina's defense isn't nearly as bad as it has been the past couple years. They're actually ranked 45th overall defensively, 56th in effective rush, and 41st in effective pass. But if I'm being honest, I think the North Carolina run defense numbers are severely inflated by that week 1 game. If you remember in the opener against South Carolina had 31 carries for -2 yards rushing in the game. Since then, all 3 of UNC's opponents have been able to run the ball on them. And actually, Minnesota and Appalachian State ran all over North Carolina. Minnesota came into Chapel Hill and rushed for 170 yards on 5.5 yards per carry on the Tar Heels. The week before that, Appalachian State came into Chapel Hill, rushed for 219 yards on 5 yards per carry, took UNC into overtime. I don't think UNC's run defense is very good. I just think South Carolina's offensive line had a meltdown in week 1, which is making the overall run defense numbers for UNC look a lot better than they actually are. Not only is Syracuse offense pretty efficient running the football, but North Carolina has yet to see a true dual-threat quarterback on the season. All 4 of their games were against pocket passers. After struggling to stop Minnesota and Appalachian State, now UNC's going to stop Syracuse in their 2-headed rushing attack. Quarterback Garrett Schrader has rushed for 340 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. LaQuint Allen has rushed for 363 yards and 6 touchdowns as well. That little QB read option play that they run where Schrader puts the ball out and he either gives it to Allen or he pulls it and runs it himself, that's really tough to stop. Now, Clemson was able to stop it, but North Carolina's defense definitely isn't Clemson. I like Garrett Schrader and the Syracuse offense to bounce back in a big way in this game, and against a North Carolina defense that I think is very beatable, I expect Syracuse to score points here. Now, on the other side of the ball, this is where we have the strengths of both these teams. Obviously, we know Drake May, North Carolina offense, very explosive offense. We all know that. But Syracuse defense is very good as well. It's ranked 31st overall, 41st in effective rush, 28th in effective pass. Syracuse held Clemson to just 35 carries or 126 yards on the ground, 3.6 yards per carry, and we know how powerful that Clemson run game can be with Will Shipley in that offensive line. And we got to keep in mind that this is not the North Carolina offense from last year. Phil Longo's gone. He's took a job at Wisconsin. The OC now is Chip Lindsey. He comes from UCF. And UNC's been running the ball a lot more this year. 53.16% of North Carolina snaps have been runs, 49th in the FBS. Last year, they were 95th. They were pass heavy last year under Phil Longo. That's not exactly good news because nobody's been able to run the ball in Syracuse yet this year. Not Clemson, not Army, not Purdue, nobody. They're 18th in the country in yards per carry allowed, 30th in rushing yards per game allowed, and 36th in effective rush, like I said earlier. And again, just a reminder, Clemson may have scored 31 points on this Syracuse team last week, but Syracuse turned the ball over 3 times, and all 3 were terrible field position. 2 of them were deep in their own territory, and 1 was at midfield. All 3 Syracuse turnovers led to Clemson touchdowns. So 21 of Clemson's 31 points were gifted from turnovers. I think this is a great buy low spot for Syracuse and a great sell high spot for North Carolina. UNC hasn't played anyone decent since week 1. Everyone's high on them right now. Syracuse just got embarrassed on their home field. I'm taking the points here. I think this number should be down at 5.5, 6. So 8.5 is great value. Give me Syracuse plus 8.5. Go Orange. If you want my top bets, parlays of the day, if you want to join our Discord, or if you want to get in on the NFL Against the Spread weekly giveaway contest, head over to KyleKirms.com. All the information's right there on the homepage. College football week 6. A lot of value on the board this week. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in Discord.